You destroyed 15 years of our marriage. Our kids don't even want to see you. And now you're threatening me? If you had asked me a year ago to describe my life, I would have said something like this. I am Jason Miller, 40 years old, 2 kids, 1 mortgage, 1 old pickup that rattles, and a wife. I thought I would grow old with sipping cheap coffee on the porch while we complain about our backs. On paper, it looked like standard American suburban life. Nothing special, nothing tragic, just a lot of school emails, grocery runs, and takeout boxes in the fridge. My wife, Rebecca, worked in marketing downtown at one of those mid-sized companies with motivational posters on the walls and too many meetings. Our daughter, Haley, was 19 in community college, living at home to save money, loudly insisting at cramper style, while also raiding our fridge on an hourly basis. Our son, Ethan, was 15, a walking hoodie who spoke mostly in short replies and sports stats, and somehow knew the score of every game played in the last decade. We were not perfect, but I honestly thought we were solid, a little tired. Sure, a little stressed, absolutely, but solid. Rebecca and I had been married 15 years. We had survived night feedings, stomach bugs, broken cars, and that phase when Ethan tried a new hairstyle every week and looked like a different character each time. So when things started to drift, I did not notice right away, because slow changes do not announce themselves. They just slide in and sit down. It started with late nights at the office, Rebecca coming home an hour late, then 2, then saying the same things every time. Big project, client call, presentation tomorrow, you know how it is. I told myself, yeah, I do know how it is. Jobs get busy. This is normal. Then her phone started living in her hand, notifications lighting up her screen. She would smile at something, and when I asked what was funny, she would say, "Oh, just work nonsense," and change the subject. I was not suspicious, yet just uneasy, like hearing a noise in the house at night and convincing yourself it is only the dishwasher. One Sunday morning, I was making pancakes, half burning them like always, when Ethan asked a question that made everything tilt a little. "Dad, is Mom mad at us?" I frowned. "Why would you think that?" He shrugged, poking at his pancakes. "She is always tired and on edge, and when I talk, she looks like she wants to be somewhere else. Teenagers exaggerate, but that one hit something inside me." A few days later, Haley came into the living room, dropped onto the couch, and stared at the ceiling like she was rehearsing a difficult line. "Dad," she said, "I saw some messages on Mom's laptop earlier. They were from some guy named Adam." Adam, the name slid into my brain like a cold coin. I had heard it before. Her coworker, her team lead, the brilliant ideas guy, and her stories about work. Haley went on, "He sent her pictures of his dog and all these inside jokes, and there were smiley faces, and she snapped the laptop shut when she saw me like it was on fire." I tried to stay calm. Adults text coworkers all the time, right? But my chest felt tight. That night, while everyone else slept, I sat at the kitchen table with a mug of lukewarm coffee, thinking about 15 years of trust and whether I was being paranoid or just finally awake. 2 weeks later, I got my answer. It was a Thursday. My last meeting of the day got canceled, so I drove home earlier than usual, feeling oddly proud that I might actually make dinner before 7 for once. I pulled in the driveway, saw Rebecca's car there, and smiled, thinking maybe we could all eat together like old times. When I walked inside, the house was too quiet. The air felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. Then I heard voices upstairs, soft and low, one of them clearly hers, and the other one unfamiliar but instantly obvious. I climbed the stairs, every step louder than my heartbeat, walked down the hall, and saw that our bedroom door was not fully closed. I pushed it open, and there they were, Rebecca and Adam. They were fully dressed, standing near the bed, but close, far too close, his hands resting on her waist or leaning into him like that had become her usual place for a full second. They did not even see me, and in that second my world broke, but very politely, without any sound. I cleared my throat, the kind of small, careful sound you make in a waiting room, not in the middle of your marriage ending. Rebecca jerked away from him, eyes wide. Adam backed up, his face draining of color. "Jason," she whispered, like she was asking if I was really there. I looked from her to him and back, and my voice came out steady. "How long?" She swallowed. "Jason, please let me explain." "How long?" I repeated. 2 months, she said, barely audible. "Just 2 months." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because my body had to do something with all that pain. "Only 2 months. Congratulations, you managed to wreck 15 years in 8 weeks. Adam finally spoke. "Jason, man, I am sorry. We did not mean to hurt anyone. This is between us adults." I turned to him very calmly. "You walked in my house, into my bedroom, and you think this is some private discussion between adults. This is between you and the door you are." Go to walk through right now. You do not text or you do not call. You stay away from my kids and from this house. He nodded, grabbed his jacket, and slipped out past me, disappearing down the stairs like a guilty shadow. When he was gone, the silence grew loud. Rebecca sank onto the edge of the bed, shaking. I stayed standing, because if I said I was not sure I would get up. Jason, please, she said. I made a terrible mistake. I have been so unhappy, and I did not know how to talk to you. It just happened. No, I said, car accidents just happen, dropping your phone in the sink. Just happens. You do not accidentally build an affair that takes planning, secrets, and a whole lot of choices. She covered her face. I know. I messed up. I love you. I love the kids. I was just lost. I stared at the woman I had loved for half my life and felt something break cleanly inside me. I am not going to scream, I said. I'm not going to break things, but I'm also not staying in this room with you tonight. Where are you going? She whispered. Guest room for now. I answer tomorrow. We talk about the kids and what we tell them tonight. I need distance before I say something I can't take back. She reached out like she wanted to touch my arm, then stopped, hand hanging there between us. Jason, please, I love you. If this is your version of love, I said quietly, I think I deserve better. Then I walked out, leaving our bedroom and a life I thought I had behind me in one simple, painful step. I did not really sleep that night. I just laid in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, replaying the scene in my head on an endless loop while the house pretended everything was normal. Morning came anyway, the way it always does, whether you were ready or not. I got up, made coffee, started the routine because the kids still at school, and the world had no idea my marriage had just exploded. Rebecca came into the kitchen with red, swollen eyes, wearing one of my old hoodies like she could still drape my loyalty over her shoulders. We have to tell them, I said, before she could speak. Our kids are not props. They deserve the truth. Do we have to do it today? She asked, voice small. Yes, I answered, because I'm not going to let them live in a house where the air is full of secrets. Haley came down, first messy bun headphones around her neck. Ethan followed, sleep still clinging to his face. He dropped into his chair and immediately sensed something was off. Teenagers can read tension like weather reports. I looked at Rebecca. She looked at her hands. So I started. This is going to be hard to hear, I said, but you both deserve honesty. Your mom has been involved with someone from work for the last 2 months. The words hit the room like a silent bomb. Haley stiffened. Ethan froze, fork halfway to his mouth. Haley whispered, "It was Adam, wasn't it?" Rebecca flinched. "How did you know?" "Because I saw the messages," Haley said, her voice trembling, "and you slammed your laptop shut like you were hiding a crime scene." Ethan pushed his plate away, face flushing with hurt. "So what he asked, you just got bored with us?" "No, Ethan," Rebecca said quickly, her voice breaking. "It was never about you two. I love you more than anything. This was my mistake." Haley turned her eyes on me. "Dad, are you staying with her?" I felt 3 pairs of eyes on me and realized this was the moment that would shape everything. I said, "I do not know what is going to happen with the marriage yet, but I do know this. I will always be your dad, and you will always have a safe home with me." Ethan looked at his mom. "Will you marry that guy now?" "No," Rebecca said instantly. "It is over. It should never have started." Haley let out a humorless laugh. "You mean it is over because you got caught?" Rebecca did not argue because she could not. She just whispered, "You are right." Ethan stood up. "I'm going to my room," he said, and stormed off, his footsteps loud on the stairs. Haley stayed staring at her mother like she was facing a stranger, then turned to me. "If you leave," she said, "can I live with you?" "Yes," I answered without hesitation. "Whatever happens, you and your brother will always have a place with me." Rebecca started crying again, soft and helpless, but I had run out of instinct to comfort her. That part of me was simply empty. Later that day, we talked logistics like 2 people negotiating a business split, not the end of a love story. She agreed to stay with her sister for a while to give everyone space. We told the kids she would not be sleeping at the house for now, and that none of this was their fault. Haley nodded, jaw tight. Ethan just stared at the floor and muttered, "Sure." "Whatever." Rebecca packed a suitcase, moving through the bedroom like every object was a memory, trying to cling to her. I stood in the hallway listening to drawers open and close, feeling like a ghost in my own house. When she came to the front door, suitcase in hand, she looked at me with eyes full of regret. "I know sorry is not enough, Jason," she said, "but I am so sorry. I do not expect you to forgive me. I just hope one day you will not hate me." I surprised myself with my answer. "I do not hate you," I said. "I am just done pretending this did not happen." She nodded, wiped her face, and walked out. The door closed quietly behind her, and with that soft click, my 15-year marriage ended its first phase. The next days were messy the way real life always is. There was no dramatic soundtrack, just bills to pay, lunches to pack, and that heavy silence that sits at the table when someone is missing. Haley started spending more time at the library or in her room, earbuds in, but her eyes too bright from holding back tears. Ethan threw himself in a basketball, playing until his legs ached because it felt better than thinking. At night, they would drift into the living room, one at a time, sit next to me on the couch, and watch whatever random show was on. We did not always talk much, but they knew I was their solid real, not going anywhere. Rebecca texted and called, wanting to see them, wanting to talk about maybe counseling and second chances. I kept the conversations focused on the kids, on schedules and permission slips. The kids' reaction was clear. Haley agreed to meet her once and came back early, eyes red, announcing that she was not ready to play happy family for anyone. Ethan refused outright to go to dinner with her at all. She betrayed you, Haley said one night sitting at the kitchen table, but she betrayed us too. I do not have to forgive that just because she is our mom. I looked at my daughter, newly sharp around the edges, and thought, I hate that you had to grow up this fast, but I am proud that you can see so clearly. The house felt different now, not destroyed, just rearranged, half empty, but strangely honest for the first time in a long while. Months started to pass, and something unexpected happened. We did not fall apart. We bent, we limped, we complained, but we stayed standing. Life built a new rhythm, whether we asked for it or not. I learned to cook more than frozen pizza. Haley helped with groceries. Ethan actually put his dishes in the sink sometimes, which I take as personal growth. We made a messy chore chart on the fridge and tried to follow it with mixed success. We invented Taco Tuesday. That sometimes happened on Wednesday or Friday, but the name stuck anyway. There were still hard days. Ethan got into an argument at school when another kid made a joke about his mom. Nothing physical, thankfully, but intense enough that I got a call from the counselor. Sitting in that office watching my son cross his arms and glare at the floor, I realized we needed more help than sarcastic jokes at the dinner table could provide. The counselor suggested therapy for all of us. At first, I wanted to say we are fine, but the truth landed heavier. We were not fine, just functional. So we went to a family therapist, a calm woman with a soft voice and a bookshelf full of tissues. She asked questions no one had asked us before. How did you feel the moment you found out? How safe do you feel in your home now? I joked my way through the first few sessions, using humor like a shield, until she said, Jason, humor is great, but you're allowed to be angry too. That sentence surprised me more than Rebecca's affair had, because it forced me to admit that I was angry underneath the calm decisions and dad jokes. I was furious. But I made a choice. I would not let that anger become my whole personality. I refused to build a permanent home out of it. Meanwhile, news about Rebecca trickled, and she was still working at the same company, but things were tense. Office gossip is brutal, and everyone knew about her and Adam. Their little romance had not survived the sunlight of exposure. Adam had requested a transfer to another branch, and the epic story of their great connection had ended like a bad season finale. Rebecca tried to reconnect with the kids. She texted them, showed up at Ethan's basketball game, sat on the top row, cheering quietly. Haley sometimes waved back, sometimes pretended not to see her. Ethan avoided looking in her direction at all. I did not push them either way. I told them, you get to decide your own pace with your mom. Your feelings are not assignments. One night on the drive home from a game, Ethan finally said, she was there. I heard her clap when I scored. Yeah, I noticed. I said, do you think she actually feels bad, or she just hates being alone? I thought for a moment both. I said, people are complicated. She can regret what she did and still have to live with the consequences, but her guilt does not mean you owe her forgiveness. I am not sure I ever want to forgive her, he muttered. You do not have to figure that out right now. I said, your only job is to be a kid, pass your classes, and not get suspended for fighting. That earned a small snort, which I counted as a win. Haley took a different path after months of cold distance. She told me she had gone for coffee with Rebecca. How did it go? I asked, bracing myself. Weird, she said. I wanted to yell at her, but then she started crying in the middle of the cafe, and I realized she really blew up her own life too, not just ours. Do you think I'm betraying you by seeing her? She asked quietly. Never, I said immediately. You having a relationship with your mom or not is not a loyalty test. You do not have to choose sides. I am your dad, not the captain of some emotional sports team. Her shoulders relaxed a little. Good, she said, because I have questions for her, and I'm going to ask all of them. While all that was happening, I started slowly building a life of my own again. Not the married husband role, not the guy trying to fix everything, just Jason. I went back to the gym and actually used the membership for something Other than paying monthly guilt, I picked up my old guitar and played badly in the living room while the dog stared at me like I was violating noise laws. Coworkers invited me out for burgers or bowling sometimes, and I said yes without feeling like I was abandoning anyone. People would ask, so are you dating yet? Like there is some official schedule, lose a spouse in spring, get a new partner by summer. I always answer the same. I am dating sleep and my own sanity. Right now, we are very serious. Some nights I sat on the porch after the kids went to bed, listening to the cicadas and the distant traffic, and for the first time in a long time, I did not feel trapped. I felt free and scared and hopeful all at once. About 9 months after the nuclear Thursday, Rebecca asked if we could meet to talk, just the two of us, no kids, no lawyers, no drama. We met at a park not far from the house, neutral territory. We sat on a bench under a tired-looking tree, watching some kids play on the swings her hand or twisted together in her lap. I want to apologize again, she said, but not the panicked version from before. I want to tell you the truth, even if it does not change anything. I nodded and let her speak. She talked about feeling invisible, feeling old next to younger coworkers, feeling like she was drowning in routine and guilt for emotions she did not know what to do with. She told me how easy it was to fall into texting Adam, how good it felt to be admired, and seeing how she convinced herself it was harmless until it wasn't anymore, and suddenly she was sneaking around like a teenager with a secret. I listened to every word, not to excuse it, but to understand the path that led from us to that bedroom betrayal. Because understanding is for me, not for her redemption. When she finished, she wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I know none of this makes it okay. She said, you were a good husband, you trusted me. And I broke that. I took a breath and answered honestly, I was not perfect. I said I got comfortable, maybe too comfortable on missed signs. I did not ask enough questions, but I stayed loyal and I tried. And when I struggled, I did not go look for comfort in someone else's arms. She nodded, you were right. She said, I took your stability for granted, like it would always be there no matter what, and I hate that I had to lose it to see its value. Then she asked the question I knew was coming. Do you think we could ever try again? Maybe someday? I looked at her and thought about our history, about our kids, about the version of me who might have said yes months ago just to avoid starting over. But I was not that man anymore. No, I said gently, I do not want to rebuild this marriage. I will co-parent with you. I will be civil. I will show up to graduations and birthdays. But the husband chapter is closed. Tears filled her eyes, but she did not argue. You are right. She said you deserve someone who does not treat your trust like a backup plan. On the way home, I felt oddly lighter, like I had finally put down a heavy box I had been carrying out of habit. After that conversation, our co-parenting got simpler. Cleaner, we defined schedules, holidays, expectations, communication, stayed respectful, and mostly about the kids. Haley and Ethan still carried their own hurt, but they also started carving new boundaries. Haley sometimes met her mom for lunch and then came home to vent about it. Ethan began occasionally answering her texts with more than one word. No one declared a grand forgiveness moment. It was just small steps, tiny repairs that might never fully restore the original shape, but could still hold some weight. Meanwhile, my own growth continued. I started saying yes to things not out of obligation, but because I wanted to. I took a weekend trip with the kids to a nearby lake where we grilled burgers, nearly set the grill on fire, laughed about it, and slept in a cheap cabin that smelled like pine cleaner and nostalgia. Lying in the bunk bed listening to Ethan complain about the squeaky mattress while Haley narrated funny stories from school, I realized we were not just surviving, we were slowly building something new. People asked again if I was dating yet. And this time I did not snap back with a joke. I said, not yet, but maybe when it feels right, and for the first time I'm in it. I had learned the difference between being alone and being lonely. They are not the same thing at all. 1 year after the day, I found Rebecca and Adam in our bedroom. I woke up to Ethan yelling from the kitchen, Dad, the toaster is trying to murder my bagel. I jumped out of bed, ran and ready for an actual emergency, and found him staring at the toaster like it had personally insulted him, smoke barely rising from a very overdone bagel. I unplugged it, rescued what I could, and shook my head. Congrats, I said, you just invented extra crispy breakfast. He laughed, and for a moment, everything felt normal in a new kind of way. Haley came downstairs complaining about finals and pretending not to care that I had made coffee exactly the way she liked it. She grabbed a travel mug, muttered, thanks, Dad, and rushed out the door. But I caught the small smile she thought I did not see. Our family did not look like it used to, but it was real and honest, and ours, Rebecca and I had settled into something that almost resembled a working partnership. Strictly, as co-parents, we texted about schedules, upcoming events, and rides. We stood on the same side of the gym during Ethan's games, but a polite distance apart. She still carried her regret. I could see in the way she looked at the kids like she was thankful just to be allowed near them. One afternoon, she dropped Ethan off after a movie and lingered on the porch instead of leaving right away. "Can we talk for a minute?" she asked. Ethan headed inside, giving me that look kids give when they're not sure if they should stay or go. I nodded toward the door. "I got this, bud." Rebecca took a breath. "Adam reached out to me recently. She said he wanted to meet up, said he misses me and wants to try again." I told him no. "Good choice," I said. "That is your life, though I am not your referee." She studied my face. "You do not ask if I miss you," she said softly. I smiled a little. "I do not need to know if you miss me," I said. "I know what I bring to the table. If you miss that, that is your lesson, not my problem." She looked down. "You really are different now." I shook my head. "Not really," I said. "I am the same man I was when we got married. I just finally believe I deserve the same loyalty I give." There was no dramatic goodbye scene, no last desperate hug, just a quiet nod. She left the porch and walked to her car, and I realized at this time I felt nothing but calm. Inside the house, Haley was sprawled on the couch with a textbook. Ethan was scrolling on his phone. "Did Mom want something?" she asked casually. "She just told me she turned Adam down," I said. "Good," Haley replied without looking up, then glanced at me. "You are never getting back with her, right?" "Already told her no," I answered. She let out a small, relieved breath. "Okay, good." She said, "I love her because she is my mom, but when I picture my future, you're the parent I see there every time. That hit me harder than any punch I have ever taken." I ruffled her hair, and she swatted my hand away, pretending to be annoyed. Later that night, after they went to bed, I sat on the porch with our dog stretched out at my feet, the air cool and quiet. A year ago, I had thought my life was over, standing in that bedroom doorway, watching everything I believed about my marriage fall apart. Turns out my life was not over. It was just changing form, like a house being remodeled in the messiest, loudest way possible. I will never say I am grateful for the betrayal. Some things are just wrong, no inspirational quote required. But I'm grateful for what I learned afterward. I learned that I can be shattered and still show up for my kids every single day. I learned that I can set boundaries and stick to them even when it would be easier to slip back into what is familiar. I learned that my worth does not depend on someone choosing me or failing to choose me, that I can stand on my own 2 feet and still keep my humor, my kindness, and my self-respect. One day, maybe I will meet someone new, someone who knows that loyalty is not optional and that love is more than butterflies and secret texts. If that happens, great. I will be ready in a way I never was before. And if it does not happen, I still win, because I walked through the worst year of my life and came out the other side still myself, just stronger, clearer, and more honest. My kids saw me get hurt, and they also saw me refuse to sink into bitterness. They watched me choose dignity over drama every single time. That is my real happy ending, not a perfect couple picture, but a life where I know who I am, what I deserve, and what I will never again accept. And honestly, that feels better than any fairy tale ever could.